It is beautiful to see a celebration of families, a source and wisdom and tradition for many families and our society as a whole are our seniors. The World Day of Grandparents and the Elderly will be held a little more than a month from now on July 27th. That is near the feast of Jesus' grandparents, Saints Joachim and Anne. Established by Pope Francis in 2021, the day recognizes the contributions of our seniors and aims to foster respect and understanding between generations. This year's theme, Blessed are those who have not lost hope, is intended to urge Catholics to reflect on how the presence of grandparents and the elderly can become a sign of hope in every family and church community. The World Day for Grandparents and the Elderly came about in part after eager campaign efforts by Catholic Grandparents Association. These types of organizations are vital in raising awareness of the care, celebration, and protection of our elders. Cardinal Wilfred Napier of the Archdiocese of Durban in South Africa says we need more organizations focused on our seniors. He sat down with EWTN Rome correspondent Colin Flynn. Take a look.
In some countries and societies as well, you know, the youth are pushed and the youth are always celebrated, which is great, but then the elderly can feel overlooked, forgotten, invisible. Right. And now with some countries pushing for euthanasia, they're saying, what, is this the answer for us, that we feel like we're a burden and we're in the way and that this is an easy solution?
Maybe that's where grandparents should be tackling, the Grandparents Association should be starting to tackle that euthanasia question head on. You're talking about killing me. It's not just about killing grandparents or the aged. Ultimately it's going to be me that's going to be put under pressure too.
What can we do more to celebrate and make them feel valuable or elderly in society?
I think the way that the Grandparents Association, just even having that as an association and people coming together and supporting each other, I think that's a good starting point. Out of that, I would hope that other movements would be developed, like how do grandparents reintegrate into families where there's been a split up and so on.
A nonprofit called Granley is another organization that is helping to build bridges between seniors and youth. Pili Galván de Abouchaar, co-founder of Granley, joins us now to talk about the vital role grandparents play in families. Pili, thank you for being with us today. First, can you share what you hear from grandparents? What do they tell you about their role in their families, and what challenges do they share?
Yeah, hello. Thank you so much for having me. This is an excellent question. A lot of the things that I hear when I'm talking to grandparents and working with them in this organization is honestly hopelessness. A lot of grandparents feel hopeless for the way that they're seeing their grandchildren be raised or the world that they're seeing their grandchildren live in. And they feel frustrated not knowing what to do. So that is like the main thing that we try to tackle, in our mission in Granley, is to give grandparents hope, to help them bridge that generational gap between how, they were raised and how youth culture is moving right now. And we also help them in praying, thinking, and acting strategically for the welfare of their grandchildren. So for me, one of the most exciting things I've seen in my work is, having grandparents walking hopeless into one of our, seminars or before reading our book, and then having hope and a very clear strategy and tools, for what they can do for the spiritual welfare of their grandchildren.
That's incredible to hear. And can you tell us how many grandparents are part of Granley? And can you tell us a little bit about the work that Granley does with them?
Yes, for sure. Well, we are a nonprofit that really started out of a youth work organization when we said, what if we recruited 10,000 grandparents, all of whom are over the age of 55, and we train them with the principles of youth work? We really believe that grandparents are already in a key position with their grandchildren because they're loved, because they're trusted. So we just want to equip them with a little bit more to really impact that. Mm-hmm. So we currently believe that we're touching around 20,000 grandparents' lives, and our numbers, show that we have about an average of 5 grandchildren per grandparent. So our goal or our metrics really focus on how many youth we are reaching, like how many young people are being touched by the gospel, in this specific case, through their grandparents. So we really are talking about 100,000 grandchildren, and we continue to want to grow that. And some of the primary ways in which we train our grandparents is via our seminar. We have a seminar called the Do It Granley seminar, which grandparents can just take by themselves at their own pace. They can find the seminar on our website, or we are also helping parishes across the United States and in other countries to host seminars for their grandparents locally.
I love how you're tying the outcomes between grandparents and grandchildren, crossing that generational divide. What are some of the outcomes after a grandfather or grandmother takes your seminar? Like, what feedback are you getting?
Honestly, as I said, like the main one for me is just like walking in hopelessness and walking out saying there is something I can do. We really tell grandparents, what if the most important thing God wants you to do in your life is still in front of you? You know, a lot of them are 60, 70, 80, plus years old. They feel like maybe they already did what they had to do. Maybe they already responded to, what God wanted them to do. But we say, what if the most important thing God wants you to do is still in front of you at age 85 or age 90, and that is passing on your faith to your grandchildren. So that just really brings a huge shift in how grandparents are thinking about their last years, or how they're investing their time, or how they're investing in their families, as well as, getting grandparents connected with other grandparents. I'm not a grandmother, so what we do is connect grandparents with others so they can continue to get that wisdom and that practical tools. So we as well host, discussion groups with grandparents from different places so they can keep working on what the strategy is. And a lot of our encouragement, as I love the piece and the things that were said before, like how can grandparents be a part of the family unit and really support their own children in raising their grandchildren. So we encourage as well a lot the working with the parents, obviously, of the grandchildren.
And now, do you guys have anything special planned for the World Day of Grandparents and the Elderly?
Well, we are focused mostly on continuing to host seminars in churches. We think that really is our biggest impact, working locally with different dioceses and really passing on our mission. So I think ideally, we want to be able to keep running those seminars throughout the summer, like right before the day of, grandparents, and right after that. I think that's the main way in which, our mission impacts both grandparents and their grandchildren.
Yes. Well, Pili, thank you so much for the work that you do.
Yeah, thank you so much.
If you would like to learn more about Granley strategic grandparenting and access their resources, you can visit granley.org.